guys, welcome back to CryptoKin News. I hope you're well. On today's episode, I've got Tanner with me. Hey Tanner, how you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. Would you like to just introduce yourself for those who don't know who you are?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Tanner. I work at Code. We're building a new crypto wallet built with Kin, and I've been involved with the Kin project since its inception.
Awesome. We're all very excited for Code.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be great. Long awaited. Yeah, it's gonna be perfect. Yeah, got a few questions from the Kin community. If you're happy to jump straight on them.
Yeah, let's dive in.
Yeah. Awesome. So one of the questions were, what are your long-term plans with Kin Interactive Kin Stash? Will you use it or not for growth of a Kin ecosystem?
Got it. So the question is, so Kick Interactive holds 3 trillion Kin of the total supply of 10 trillion. And the question is, what's Kick Interactive's plan? Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, cool. So short answer is I don't work for Kick Interactive now. I've transitioned over to Code, so I can't say specifically. But what I can say is that the Kick Interactive board has always been win-win, views the Kin ecosystem as a healthy, long-term, growing crypto economy. And I trust that they're going to do everything they can. And there's incentives aligned to see positive growth in the value of Kin long term.
Cool. Yeah. No. Thank you ever so much for that. The second one is Ted still involved? Is he actively part of Code?
Yeah. So Ted is the CEO of Code Inc. Code Inc. is a not-for-profit organization. So, like I said, it's separate from Kick Interactive Inc., and we're solely focused on building the Code wallet. And Ted is, I mean, highly involved. He's the CEO, and in terms of day-to-day operations, is really driving the product vision behind Code.
Oh, awesome. Cool. The next question is, which missing puzzle piece is Code working on? And have you guys talked to USV companies about Kin?
Yeah, so two parts to that question. The first one, so the Code wallet. What are we working on? What's that missing puzzle piece? Short answer is we're with Code aiming to make crypto simple to use. And in order to take this powerful technology that is cryptocurrency and make it simple, there's a lot of different pieces that go into that. One is keeping it non-custodial, such that everyone always has control over their funds and has full autonomy. That also, with crypto, you can roll out a global currency, which is one of the powerful things that we see with Kin and any cryptocurrency. So bringing all those things together to make it really simple in a mobile wallet obviously has a lot of different pieces. And we've spent a lot of time on the base level technology. I mean, first with the blockchain, we went from Ethereum as an ecosystem. We went from Ethereum to Stellar to a fork of Stellar called the Kin blockchain, and now to Solana. And we've been involved with the Kin Foundation and other developers to make those logical steps and make that really simple. And then on top of Solana, it's then taking this performant blockchain and making that simple for the consumer. So abstracting away things like fees, things like rent in a wallet. So on Solana, there's this concept of you open up a wallet, there has to be a minimum balance of Sol, which is Solana's anti-spam system. But we want to abstract all those things away from the general consumer, because when you go open up a bank account or something like that, there's not a concept of transaction fees for every time you use something, or at least it's hidden from the consumer, and there's no minimum balance, things like that. So those are all the different pieces that we've been working on. But a lot of those are falling into place now. We're getting quite close to Code being in a state where we're ready to start sharing that with people in the Kin community.
Oh wow. Yeah, no, very exciting. I've actually seen a lot of talk about the rent on Solana on Twitter over the past year. It looks like a lot of people want it to sort of change or look for another way to get it sort of potentially gone or reduced. So it'll be quite interesting to see what happens on that front. Cool. Yeah, and another one is the 3-year SEC notification period of transfers of Kin is over in October 2023. and they're asking, can you address any concerns that they have about the management dragging out onboarding of apps till that date?
Cool. So the question was October 2023, that 3 year notice period is over. And for anyone who's watching or listening, Kick Interactive had a settlement with the SEC, which deemed that at the time of the token distribution event of KIN, that was in violation of securities regulation, but KIN going forward is not a security. But part of that settlement was that for 3 years, Kick Interactive, who holds 3 trillion KIN, would give notice to the SEC anytime there's a transfer of that 3 trillion KIN. So then the question, I believe, was that 3 year notice period. We're about almost 2 years through that, and there's a question if anything's been dragging out with onboarding new apps, etc., until that notice period is over. Okay.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Got it. So the short answer is Kick Interactive is the organization that has that 3 year notice period. Kick Interactive is completely separate from the KIN Foundation and other apps in the ecosystem that are all working collectively together to grow the KIN ecosystem. So those two things are separate. So in terms of dragging feet or delaying any onboarding, those are two separate organizations. The other thing I would say is with that October 2023 date, it's funny because I didn't even know that specific date. I just knew it was roughly 3 years. Candidly, I don't think the KIN Foundation has that or not the KIN Foundation, sorry, Kick Interactive has that circled on the calendar and is waiting for that specific date. The Kick board, I do know, like I said on the first question, is very win-win, and it has an aligned incentive with the rest of the ecosystem to see positive growth in KIN. So I don't think those two things are coupled, and Kick Interactive, the board, is very win-win and looking long-term with KIN.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And also thank you for going over briefly about the sort of set case for those who are sort of new to the KIN ecosystem. I think that's be very good for them just so they can catch up. So another question. How can we as an ecosystem help code via Twitter, testing, or if there's any other means?
Yeah, no, it's so it's a great question. I love that the community is asking this, and it's a big reason why we're so bullish as an organization on KIN and are building this wallet specifically for the KIN ecosystem. Is everyone's win-win. Aligned incentives to all work together, and it's another reason why I enjoy doing interviews like this and talking to the community. The short answer with code is we're getting close to rolling this out beyond just immediate friends and family. So we've been working on code, the wallet, full time for about a year. Prior to that, there's a lot of base level technology that we're working on. We're helping the KIN Foundation and other apps get Solana migration off the ground and all the technology. So for the last year, we've been working on code full time, and we want to get all the details just right on iOS and Android. So we're getting quite close. We started to share code with a few friends and family of people of the team to get some early feedback, and that's helped us continue to refine. But now we're at the point where we're getting quite close to expanding that invite set beyond just our immediate friends and family. So we actually just yesterday on getcode.com put up a really simple waitlist function. And there's a few people that I think I had reached out to last week because I have seen their engagement in the KIN community and are very win-win and thought they would be good early testers. And that has started to grow a bit organically, and people have been asking, hey, can I invite so-and-so or get them on the waitlist as well? So we just put a waitlist function on getcode.com. So if you go to getcode.com, you add your email, the country you're in, and then you can hit join the waitlist. And then we'll have that. The reason we're asking for the country people are in as well is because we're going to roll code out country by country. And the more people in a particular country gives us a prioritization of where we start and where we expand. And so that would be the best way that people can get involved is join the waitlist. We'd love to get the KIN community on board with code early. And that's the cohort of people that we're most focused on to start is the KIN community.
So yeah, if you're interested, obviously put your name down. uh, so you've briefly actually talked about this anyway, so feel free to not answer the next one. But they've said, what security do we have that the 3 trillion kin won't be dumped once the notification period is over?
Yeah, I can see that there's a theme in a bunch of these questions. Like you said,
Yeah.
I mean, I touched on this with the other two, but I can touch on it again. I don't want to seem like I'm avoiding any questions at all. The 3 trillion kin that Kick owns is governed by the Kick Interactive Board, which is a private, separate company. And I know the board is, like I said, very win-win and is thinking long-term about the ecosystem.
Yeah. So you've obviously mentioned about code now. Is there any sort of like mission, any sort of like long term plan?
So, question is, and I think there's probably two parts to that, like Code's mission being one,
Yeah.
and then the other is what are the long term plans of Code. So, I mean, really simply, the mission of Code is to drive financial inclusion, global financial inclusion. And we think that the way that we can do that is by making crypto really simple to use. Crypto is this powerful technology that allows frictionless flow of money with anyone, anywhere in the world, as long as you have an internet connection. So we think that's really powerful, but crypto to date has not been simple to use. I think different cryptocurrencies have taken good steps forward to make that simpler, reducing fees, making developer tools better. But I still think there's a long ways to go, which makes sense because crypto's really only been around for just over a decade. So
Yeah, still very early.
yeah, so then our long-term plan with Code, and you ask like, is it just another app in the Kin ecosystem? And I would answer yes and no. I would say no, it's not just another app because we want to make it very simple. We think this can be a good lighthouse in the Kin ecosystem. But then long term, yes, we do want it to be just another app because we think as being a lighthouse and making crypto simple to use, that will showcase to other large apps and large companies that they can build with Kin. And ideally, more and more people start growing in the ecosystem as users of Code, but then users of other apps as well. So, again, to answer your question, our mission drive global financial inclusion by making crypto simple to use. And ideally, in the near term, no, it's not just another app because we think Kin or Code can be a very special app in the Kin ecosystem. But then long term, yes, it becomes just another app because as a lighthouse, it brings more and more apps into the ecosystem. We continue to grow.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And and to be fair, I think it's going to take an app like Code and a few sort of really sort of dedicated sort of apps and developers to bring Kin to light.
Mm-hmm.
And personally, I think not one entity could even really make Kin a success. I think it takes all the developers, the community and all of that to actually work together, and especially like with this no code plugin and stuff like that being worked on and that's actually released, people can actually now get in and start creating Kin apps. But also what's very powerful about Kin is obviously with all the tools sort of released and the community, they're full of developers in the community. If you've got a really good idea, I highly recommend, reaching out to some of these developers. I know firsthand people who have had ideas and they've reached out to developers and now they're sort of creating apps, and I think that's a really powerful thing with the Kin community, everyone working together and having that one aligned thing, building the Kin ecosystem for the masses, and that's how I see it, and I truly think we'll definitely get there,
Yeah.
but definitely making the barrier easier for crypto is 100% needed. No one's really been successful at that to date from what I've seen.
Yeah, and so you said something there that I want to highlight because it was really good. Is like you said, like no one app can make any one thing individually successful. So Code within the Kin ecosystem, if Code is the only app, it would never work. It really needs to, with any of these apps, like all work together, and that's the power of Kin. Is that you have the Kin rewards engine that aligns incentives of all of these people to come together and grow the adoption. The Kin rewards engine was inspired by the block reward for Bitcoin. And Bitcoin was obviously this powerful financial innovation, but honestly, largely a social invention as well, because for the first time ever that I can see, you have a large group of disparate actors that are all competing with each other and are incentivized to compete with each other. But by competing, they grow the security of the network. So the more people that contribute as miners to capture the block reward, increase the difficulty rate. The difficulty rate then increases the security of the network, which then enables more people to buy Bitcoin and effectively put money into the Bitcoin network. And we see the same thing with Kin and the Kin rewards engine. All these different developers can compete together for this discrete reward. But as that discrete reward, as better apps come in to compete against a discrete reward, the value of Kin goes up. And obviously, crypto in general has its boom and bust cycles, and we're a bit of a downtrend right now. But the things that's been so impressive to me is, so each month the Kin Foundation puts on these developer calls, and different developers from the ecosystem all join these calls. We talk about technology problems, what we can all be doing together to work together. And the two things that are impressive to me about those calls is each call, there's more and more people on it. And even in the down swell right now that we see of the price of crypto and Kin, there's more and more developers joining that call, new developers coming in. And all those calls, everyone's very win-win and talking about how we can all work together. And that's the thing that is exciting to me and makes me continue to be bullish about Kin and everything that's happening in the ecosystem.
Yeah, no, that's very exciting, and I think I actually see that briefly. I think William sort of tweets out an image every once in a while on Twitter.
Yeah.
So I think that's very cool, John. It looks very good, and obviously I recognise a bunch of people from those calls, and lots of those people are so dedicated for ones I know, and so I'm sure everyone on that call is, and it's great to see them working together.
One more thing, and you mentioned it, I just wanted to highlight this as well, is you don't have to be, and I know we say developers a lot, you don't have to be a developer in the sense that you're writing code to be contributing to Kin. The community is incredibly valuable, and there's a bunch of people that have been key in growing the adoption of Kin through growing a healthy community, giving feedback to developers, but also there's a bunch of non-technical people, like you said, have matched up with technical people and are building different experiences. And I can think of a few right off the top, like Lee. He's now working with some others to build cafeteria.gg. And then you have someone like, I was just chatting with Tony Jacob recently. And it's funny because now he's working on Kinney Technologies. And I feel like I've known all the different people along the way that have contributed to this, one of which, Chase Barker, worked for the Solana Foundation.
Yeah, wow. Hasn't his...
Yeah, like he helped launch Kinney and then brought some other people in. Some of the original folks are still working on that, but you start to see this positive contagion. And I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, there's so many ways to contribute, whether it's as simple as providing feedback to developers, or even just being a user and being active on Twitter, on Reddit, etc., and then being that bridge to help bring people into crypto. And that's one of the things that we talk about a lot with Code, is Code being a tool for the community to be able to show their friends and family Code, because we understand it too. We've all been in crypto for a long time. For me, I've been in crypto since 2013. And I remember in 2013, I was telling people about Bitcoin, and the only way to buy Bitcoin at the time was to go find this sketchy Bitcoin ATM that was in downtown. That was in downtown where I went to university, in like an area that no one wanted to go. So it's like, okay, yeah, catch a bus downtown, go to this Bitcoin ATM, like pop in your credit card, and it's going to give you this printout with all these different characters. That's 2013. And then evolved to like 2017. It's like, okay, sign up for Coinbase, give them all your information, and then you go through and you buy. And Coinbase is like a massive step forward, and most people would actually do that. My mom, for example, bought Ether, I think end of 2016 on Coinbase, and that proved to be a really wise thing that she did. But that still was really complex, and I had to walk her through that. And still people are like, okay, I have this crypto, but what do I do with it? And like my mom, for example, she bought Ether in 2016. She's never really done anything with it. She just owns it. And she's like, okay, like maybe this will be interesting one day. So like we get it as people that are early in crypto, and you're trying to tell your friends and family this is such a powerful thing, but there's nothing to do with it. So with code, we see this as this powerful next step forward, where okay, now we can make crypto simple to use, so that as a user, you can show people code and be like, hey, this is a way that you can use you can use crypto, and people just get it.
Funny how you mentioned about briefly earlier about cafeteria and all these other projects. Like I get like messages from people talking about all these different projects, and it blows my mind really how much is actually going on. You only see a very little amount on Twitter, but if you really start like doing a deep dive on what's actually happening behind the scenes, there is loads. Very, very, very bullish on cafeteria. Absolutely great team, and they're definitely gonna own it.
Yeah, no, and it's, I mean, on that point, and I know we're meandering around a bit, but it's a good conversation. What we see as end consumers will always lag all the work that's happening behind the scenes. You know, you look at the core technology, it's going to be a couple years before inception to launching. Solana would be a good example. We met Anatoly almost 2 years before testnet even went live. And you know, he like took us through it, Ted and I, on the whiteboard. We saw this conception, and then 2 years till testnet, and then almost another year till mainnet. Like there's a long way to go, and you see that in the evolution of products as well. You look at people talk about crypto being reminiscent of early days of the internet, which I think is largely true. But also you look at the early days of mobile. You look at the first apps on the iPhone to the apps that we have today. And that time period has only really been about 15 years. And you look at crypto, yeah, Bitcoin is almost 14 years old now this year. But crypto as a broader industry, I would say has only really been 6 years maybe. If you look at like Ethereum as the jumping off point for more programmable forms of crypto. So 6 years is a very constrained amount of time, and the amount of innovation we've already seen through that has been really impressive. So there's a lot of work happening now, and to use Kin specifically, I see a lot of the stuff. I talk to a lot of developers and just people in the community on the things they're working on, but there's always going to be a lag before the end consumer sees it. And then it's one of these things, in retrospect, it seems to follow this logical sequence, but in the midst of it, it looks chaotic. Like Google, as an example, had been puttering away for years. And then people don't even remember this usually, but they were the number 6 search engine at the time of nuclear winter, which was the big .com bust. They were the number 6 search engine at the time. But then what happens is a lot of those search engines capitulated during that 2-year winter period. Either they ran out of money, or they just capitulated and started working on other things because they're like, okay, search isn't a thing. But the Google team just kept executing and kept building. And then you come out of nuclear winter, the version of, or their branding for the .com bust at the time, and now they're competing for the most valuable company in the world, give or take. I mean, they're always in the top 3. But people like forget those things, right? It takes a long time.
Yeah.
Before Google got popular, it was like 5 years of building.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that works, always really. Like, when you see super successful people, people tend to only notice them when they're blown up and they're big, but don't understand or maybe appreciate or want to know about how they got there. And actually, I think that's probably the most important thing to understand. A lot of people nowadays, I know we're going off in a tangent, but they want to be rich, they want to become a YouTuber, they want to do this, but they don't understand that it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort to become big and famous. It's not just
and patience.
Definitely.
There's this adage. If you there's been this advice that came out. I don't know. It started to get popularized that maybe like 5-6 years ago, that if you're not embarrassed by the first version of your product, you launched too late. And yes, you want to launch products and have some things to work on and fine tune it. But I also think that's a bit of a misnomer, because especially when in this age where everyone's competing for attention, you only have so much finite ability to capture people's attention. You need to have the details dialed in. And then when you start dealing with things like money with crypto, you need to be airtight on some of the fundamental things. and not just on things like security and accessibility and usability, but simplicity as well. So, anyways, I know we've gone on a bit of a tangent, but it's these are some of the things I think about quite a bit as someone building with these things, and some experience building in mobile for about a decade now.
Yeah, no, that's really good. We have got a few more questions. Someone's asked, would we be able to provide a preview of code at some point? Or I assume not, but I thought I'd still ask.
No, it's a great question. The short answer is I'd rather show than tell. And I will set expectations with everyone. Code is simple. So it is a very simple wallet app. And the beauty to me is in the simplicity. And that's really what we're driving towards. So in terms of giving a preview, we'd love to get people on the wait list and show you. So, same call to action from before. Go to getcode.com, put your email in, your country, and then share it with friends as well. Like I said, we're going to prioritize by country. So if you want your country to be prioritized and get earlier access, get a bunch of people in your country to sign up as well.
So everyone in the UK, please sign up and make us one of the first to be with all the new features and everything like that. Okay, I'm relying on everyone here to do that. Cool. So down to the last three actually. So one of them was, does code speak to VCs and others about kin? So I guess they're meaning not just speaking to VCs, but trying to maybe get people involved in kin.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. We have a ton of relationships with venture capitalists, other people building in tech, not just crypto, but I would say the broader sphere of technology. And we talk to VCs often, not always in the traditional context of people think you go to talk to VCs to pitch. I talk to VCs all the time, sharing insights on crypto, kin being one of those, but also the broader landscape. And some of that is cultivated over a decade plus of relationships with venture capitalists. So the short answer is yes, we talk to them all the time, but not always in the traditional sense of pitching. And we also talk to a lot of other technologists, people building in the space. But then the slightly longer answer is right now, crypto in general and markets in general, people are in a bit of a holding pattern for what they're going to do. You see that across the market broadly. And for us, we think it's really powerful that we show code to the kin community early because it's the people that have been around. They're believers in kin. They've been around. They're also aware of code, have been waiting for code. And we'd love to show the kin community first so that everyone can see that. And then it'll follow a logical sequencing there. But to us, it's a community-driven thing first, so that is where our priority is.
Well, that's really great to hear, actually. And I'm sure the community will absolutely love testing it out when they can. Well, another one was, what features will make it stand out from the rest?
Yeah, it's another good question. So the way we look at the app, and I've said this a couple times, the word I might have used the most on this interview so far is simple or simplicity. And the feature of code is its simplicity. And in building a mobile product, we think it's largely user behavior enablement over a broad feature set. And those might sound like the same things, like features enable user behavior, but really it comes down to the why. Like, why are we building code? We're building it to make crypto simple to use, not just for the novelty of crypto, because we're not a solution in search of a problem. We really do see that there is a problem in the world broadly, which is a disparate, fragmented financial system. And we think crypto, and this is a belief we've had, Ted getting into crypto in 2011, me 2013, but our team has all individually converged on crypto as this really powerful technology. And all of us uniformly see that the power of crypto to bridge this global financial system. We think kin is the absolute best cryptocurrency to be able to do that based on all the hard work that's gone in from everyone in the ecosystem to make kin as simple as possible as a cryptocurrency. So then with code, we want to make that as simple as possible. So I know that's a long answer in the feature set, and I'm sure people were hoping maybe that I just had a bulleted list of like, yeah, you're going to find this, this, and this. Yeah. The shorter answer is I want you to feel it and but set expectations. There's not going to be a broad feature set. It really is just a product that you can use that's simple.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see whatever it is, and I'm sure everyone else is. Um, so we kind of answered the last question actually, but I'll say it anyway. It's more about what's your opinion of Kin. What do you think needs to happen for it to get the recognition that it deserves, basically, in the crypto industry?
Yeah. So my general opinion of Kin, and I spoke to that. Kin as its like just as a currency in this base effectively um, product that exists for developers and consumers to use, I think has taken a lot of steps forward to make it the most accessible and usable cryptocurrency in the market. And I think that's proven with data as well. I don't just say that anecdotally or conjecture. It's adopted from my view outside of call it Bitcoin and Ether, where you have a bunch of trading apps that are all using Bitcoin and Ether and some of these other ones. If we put trading on the side as a subcategory, applications and mobile apps and web apps that are using crypto for more than just buy, hold, and trade. I think Kin has more apps using it than anything. And not that I want to discount trading, because that if you look at the broader set of the economy, people trade things, and that's an important thing, but it's not the only thing. And I think broad use as a money is it permeates a lot of different use cases. So I think Kin has taken a lot of steps forward in making it simple for developers to integrate. And like I said, there's a bit of a lag on what consumers see versus what's happening right now. And we're seeing a lot of growth of developers, and they're contributing. I see it on the developer calls, but not all these products have hit market yet, Code being one of those as well. So I think generally Code, I'm quite bullish on longer term. And I also have seen that the developer ecosystem has taken good steps forward. I think the Kin Foundation has also been doing a good job of shepherding this next era. William Muger took over as the chairman a couple of years ago, and I think has done a great job shepherding this ecosystem, building a team. There's a strong team there. Matt Hannum now has taken over as executive director and running day-to-day operations. And all the work that him and his team and working closely with William has done has been fantastic. And they've done a good job of shepherding the ecosystem, not running that like an explicit private corporation, because you can't be. When you're a foundation of a decentralized currency, you can't run it like a corporation. I think they've done a good job of shepherding this ecosystem. So that's been another positive step forward. So all in all, I think Kin is taking a lot of strides forward. People might look at a price graph and say, well, how can you say that when the price of Kin is down from 6 months ago? And largely what I would say is, one, it's early. Kin isn't quite 5 years old yet. We're actually coming up just under a month till the 5-year anniversary of the Kin token distribution event. But if you look at anything, I think it's like the Gartner hype cycle, which is, and I'm going way back to whenever I read this in a textbook at university. But you have this like technology trigger, I think of what it is. Like you have this peak excitement, and then usually this big trough, and then you have this trough of disillusionment, and then the slow climb back to sustainable growth. I think with crypto, we've seen that cycle play out, and largely Kin as well. You have this launch. It's a really exciting vision, some early indications of what's going to happen. You have Kik and some other apps going live, and then you hit a bull run, this peak excitement, and then usually there's going to be some capitulation. You see that with everything. You see some capitulation of developers. You're going to see some capitulation of holders. And then what that does, and with crypto, it's even a little bit different because you have this liquid currency that there's a constant price feed. It never turns off. So you're going to have this trough of disillusionment. But I think largely, I think we've already come out of that. And like I said, we're seeing a lot more developers coming and contributing, more people coming in. I talk to people in the community all the time, and some of them are new to the ecosystem. It's not just people that came in 5 years ago in 2017 and are still holding on, but it's new people.
Exactly.
So I think there's a lot of good work that's happening. It'll take some time. So that's a long way of saying I'm more bullish on Kin than I probably ever have been, because with anything, there's this cycle. And, we've been at the top of the cycle, but also intuitively, I just know there's going to be a trough of disillusionment. That is just table stakes. And the fact that we've like hit that, I think, and started to climb out of it, that to me is the most bullish signal in my view. And that bullish signal is not based on a price feed. It's based on the fact that more and more people are coming, more and more people are building, people that have been around for a long time, people that are new, and we're starting to climb out of that. And I think the Kin Foundation has done a good job shepherding that. In terms of what next steps would be and how we can continue to grow, is capturing that momentum, staying consistent, not falling into the temptation to slide back into the trough of disillusionment, but keep growing. But then also open up the governance, and that this is something that was in the white paper, and I think everyone has a broader view that at some point you need to open up the governance more and more. And I think the Kin Foundation has done a good job of taking positive steps forward in doing so. But I think that would be the biggest thing, and continuing to grow this, because that will allow more people to come and contribute, community members, developers, companies, everyone, and then being able to help govern this and shepherd it going forward, because that's where you can bring more people in, more people contributing. And that, I think, is one of the powerful things we've seen about some of the cryptocurrencies that have more of a lifespan, like Bitcoin, like Ether, etc., is there's a large decentralized governance process, and people can contribute from all over and rewarded for that.
Yeah, so I'm totally very happy with how the ecosystem's going. Everyone's working together as they should. It's like a little family, and with the Kin KRE specifically, compared to all of the other ecosystems out there in crypto, the KRE is just game changing. It brings people together, and not even just that. Like, if you're an app and you join the Kin ecosystem, you join this family who will then almost use your app as well. So you get that extra engagement, which I don't think you get with integrating any other currency. Yeah. So that's why I'm very happy with Kin, because people have an incentive to actually build and work together. Whereas if someone can name another ecosystem which can reward people like that, then show me. But I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, so you said a few good things in that, and some really good things. One thing I might even push back on just slightly, so the first thing you said is like 99% of crypto is largely hype and people talking about what's going to be. That's the one thing I might push back on a little bit. I don't know if it's 99.9. The only reason I say this, because I do think Kin is very far ahead, probably, in my opinion, and obviously it's biased, like the most far ahead. But I also know how hard it is to build things, and the fact that it takes some time. We've talked about that, and to play devil's advocate, someone might listen to this conversation and be like, Liam and Tanner were talking about a lot of things that are going to come, because you and I have talked a lot about, we see the work that's happening, it's probably going to come. And I also recognize how hard that can be. And I'll use one example, and it's something just because I'm close to it, is Solana. So met Anatoly 2 years, it's probably like 3.5 years since I met him and Raj and the team, and they talked about Solana. Then they built it for a while, and we have testnet, and we were the very first project Kin to publicly announce we're going to go to Solana. This is back when the Sol token was trading at like less than 10 cents, I think. And I did a bunch of reference calls early on when they were raising their seed stage, for large venture capitalists and large companies that ended up buying Sol early. Talked to a bunch of them. And I'm talking about this technology, but it still is, they're talking about what's going to be. And then testnet goes live, mainnet goes live, and I'm talking to a bunch of developers, some of the most popular developers now in the Solana ecosystem, because we had started building with Solana probably earliest. So knew the technology well, had contributed some of the ideas on what now is part of that. And it took a little while for those to become live. But now you start to see like it is growing. So that's the only thing I would push back on. I think everything you said is like largely true. And do I think it's like, 0% is hype and people giving false promises? Absolutely not. I think it's, I don't know. There's some percentage. I don't want to hazard a guess as to what that is. But that was the one thing I would say, just to be empathetic to others. But I do think you raised a salient point that right now in crypto, people are kind of hopping around, and you buy one thing, it's largely hype, then you sell and you move on to the other thing. And two things I would say to that. One is I think that is because nothing really right now is really usable. So people are they're buying and selling on narratives. And that's what we want to cut through the narratives and go from narrative to actual use. And I think Kin has done a good job at the early stages, but I will also say I don't think anything, and I think any developer in the Kin ecosystem would say this, that it's still early for every single use case. I don't think there's one flagship thing yet in Kin, and I'm not saying this to be critical. It's like everyone's still building and everyone's still trying to refine. There's not one thing that is like, yeah, this is the flagship. And as Code, that's something that we're trying to build towards, and we think we have a good shot at doing that. Doesn't mean that we want to be the only ones, or we think we'll be the only ones. We would love it if something else hit as well, because we all want to grow together. But an interesting anecdote. This is like maybe 6 years ago. I was talking to a very prominent venture capitalist, probably one of the more famous ones in the Valley, and we were talking about crypto, and I had shared, one of the powerful things about crypto, and this is again maybe like 5-6 years ago, is unlike early companies like crypto, as a consumer, like you can buy this and it's this always on market. And he said to me, and I think it was really wise and something I've thought about a lot since then, is illiquidity of early products is a feature, not a bug. And he said that as a venture capitalist, if everything was always liquid, him and probably every other venture capitalist would have sold some of their winners way too early, because there is just this really messy period. And that's why you see most venture capitalists hold for like 7 to 10 years. Or you see that most fund structures are a 10-year structure with 5 years for deployment, 5 years for follow on. So it is that like 10-year window that most venture capitalists kind of align on. And you look at most funds, they don't end up liquidating their position until over a decade later. And that illiquidity, the fact that they can't just any day wake up and sell and jump to another one, is a feature, not a bug, is what he said to me. Because you have to manage your own psychology as someone who is buying and selling these things. So crypto it's a double-edged sword. It's really easy to buy anytime, which I think is really powerful. It's amazing that people can just, you discover Kin and you're a user of one of these apps, you can buy it and then you can share in the upside. But the double-edged sword is that at any point in time, you can sell. And I think all things being equal, it's better to have that ease of being able to buy and sell at any time. So I'm not saying that I would trade that and everyone should be illiquid, but illiquidity can be a feature, not a bug.
It makes sense.
The broader sense there. But then, and then, like I said before, and like you were saying, it's the reason there's everything is so transient is, yes, you have this illiquidity, but people are searching for something to use and no one quite gets it. And again, coming back, I've said this, with Code, we want to make Kin simple to use, crypto simple to use, such that it isn't even something that is an academic exercise of like, oh, this seems simple to use, therefore I'll buy this and I'll hold it. It's no, we just want people to actually use it. And you use Kin, and it is something that's usable, and therefore you're not even making these decisions of buy, sell. It's, I'm going to continue to else this, and therefore I need more Kin to be able to use this as the simple wallet app.
So for me, it's totally all about fundamentals. Else I wouldn't touch a project. Since 2017, and all the way through, I lost a bit of money by being a complete crypto noob and putting money probably where I shouldn't, and it got burnt. So now I'm all about fundamentals, and that's probably what I'm gonna definitely carry on doing.
I think that's very wise. It's like you buy the things that you're going to use, and that's what most consumers are going to think and how they should think. And that's what we're focused on, is people will buy the things they're going to use. And we want to make crypto and Kin, because that's the only crypto in Code, simple to use.
Oh, no, that'd be awesome. Anything simple to use for a crypto community, the better.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll finish this up then. So in regards to sort of Code, have you, even if you can't share a sort of date with us, do you already have like an internal date where you're hoping to go fully live?
Yeah, it's a great question. I would ask the same thing. We have a target in mind, and I'm not going to share that because we want to get all the details just right. And it's not like I'm trying to be coy and there's this date that's on the board and I just don't want to share it with people, or that we're giving ourselves a pass, just like, oh, we'll just launch it when we launch it. But we want to get all the details just right. But what I can say is when all the details are just right, we're not going to waste any time starting to bring people in, because we are, I know the kin community and yourself and others are really excited to try Code. I can promise you no one is more excited for you guys to try Code than our team. Like, we are building this to be used. We're very excited to share that. So all I can say is join the waitlist. Go to getcode.com, intuitive URL. Add your email, add your country, and then share it with friends. Share it with people in any country, but also be aware that we want to prioritize by country. So it's advantageous to get people in your country to sign up as well. And we're excited to share it with people.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you ever so much for coming today. It's really much appreciated. It's been really great speaking to you.
Yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Have a great day. Cheers.
Yeah, thanks.